The Galactic Council had always dismissed Earth as insignificant. A backwater world, they called it, inhabited by a species barely capable of interstellar travel. The Terrans were primitives who still fought amongst themselves, burned fossil fuels, and clung to outdated notions of individual nations. When the Zetharian Empire's war machines swept across the Orion Arm, consuming world after world, nobody thought to warn the humans. After all, what could primitives do against a force that had conquered half the galaxy? Commander Elsie Chen stood on the observation deck of humanity's newest orbital station, watching the stars with weary eyes. 3 months ago, she'd been a test pilot. Now she commanded Earth's hastily assembled Defense Fleet 17 retrofitted colony ships, mining vessels, and scientific cruisers armed with whatever weapons humanity could manufacture in their desperation. "Ma'am, we're getting another distress call," Benjamin Rodriguez reported from the communications console, his young face pale. "It's from the Valorian refugees. The Zetharian fleet has entered the Sol system." Elsie's jaw tightened. The Valorians had arrived 2 weeks ago, their ships burning, their people broken. They'd warned Earth of what was coming, a fleet of 300 warships, equipped with plasma cannons, quantum shields, and weapons humanity couldn't begin to understand. The Galactic Council had already fallen. 47 species had been enslaved or eradicated. How long until they reach Earth? Elsie asked. 16 hours. 16 hours. Elsie looked at her reflection in the viewport, a woman who'd never expected to become humanity's last hope. Behind her, Benjamin continued coordinating with the ground forces, his fingers flying across holographic displays. He'd been a college student studying astrophysics before the war arrived at their doorstep. The tactical meeting convened within the hour. Representatives from every nation crowded into the war room, their old rivalries suddenly meaningless. General Park from Korea, Admiral Okafor from Nigeria, Colonel LeBlanc from France, all of them looked to Elsie for answers she didn't have. "We can't win a conventional engagement," Elsie began bluntly. "The technology is centuries ahead of ours. One Zetharian cruiser could obliterate our entire fleet. Then we surrender." Someone asked. "No." Elsie's voice was iron. "We do what humans have always done when faced with superior force. We improvise, we adapt, we fight dirty." Benjamin pulled up a holographic display of the Sol system. "The Zetharians have a pattern. They enter a system, eliminate orbital defenses, then land ground forces for subjugation. Their shields are designed to deflect energy weapons and kinetic projectiles traveling above certain velocities. Below certain velocities," Admiral Okafor leaned forward, "their shields ignore slow-moving objects," Benjamin explained. "They're designed for space combat, not for atmospheric combat," Elsie finished, a fierce smile crossing her face. "They've never fought a species still using chemical propulsion. They've never faced an enemy primitive enough to still rely on explosives and ballistics." The plan came together rapidly. Humanity would play to its strengths: unconventional warfare, asymmetric tactics, and the kind of stubborn resilience that had seen their species survive ice ages, plagues, and world wars. When the Zetharian fleet arrived, they found Earth's orbital defenses exactly where they expected and exactly as pathetic as predicted. Elsie's 17 ships scattered like frightened animals, firing their primitive missiles that the Zetharian shields deflected effortlessly. The alien commander, Overlord Krithix, permitted himself a moment of satisfaction. This would be over quickly. His satisfaction died when the fleeing human ships released their payloads, not missiles, but tens of thousands of small containers that drifted innocuously in space, too slow to trigger the shields, too numerous to track individually. By the time Krithix realized the deception, it was too late. The containers struck the Zetharian hulls and detonated, not with advanced plasma or exotic particles, but with simple, primitive chemical explosives wrapped in shrapnel, the kind of weapons humans had been perfecting for centuries. The Zetharian shields, calibrated for sophisticated energy weapons, offered no protection against chunks of metal traveling at subsonic speeds. Explosions rippled across the alien fleet. Hulls breached, atmosphere vented. Dozens of ships went dark. Now, Elsie commanded, from Earth's surface, from the moon, from Mars colonies, humanity unleashed everything it had. Nuclear-tipped missiles, crude, ancient, and brutally effective. Railgun installations firing solid tungsten rods, chemical lasers, even retrofitted SpaceX boosters packed with explosives. Piloted by volunteers who wouldn't be coming home, Benjamin coordinated the chaos from the command center, his voice steady despite the tears streaming down his face as he read casualty reports. Zetharian flagship's shields are fluctuating. Beijing's orbital cannon has a firing solution. The battle raged for 7 hours. Humanity lost 16 of its 17 ships. Over 4,000 soldiers died. But when the sun rose over a scarred Earth, debris from 200 Zetharian vessels glittered in orbit like a deadly constellation. Overlord Krithix, wounded and barely alive in his escape pod, was recovered by Elsie's crew. He stared at the humans with something between horror and respect. Impossible. He rasped through his translator. "You're primitives. You shouldn't have been able." "That's our secret," Elsie interrupted, her voice cold. "We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. We've perfected the art of killing with whatever we have available. You came here with advanced technology. We came with experience, desperation, and the knowledge that we had nowhere left to run." Benjamin pulled up the long-range sensors. The remaining 100 Zetharian ships were retreating, limping away from Sol System. For the first time in the war, the Empire had been beaten. Word spread across the galaxy with impossible speed. The primitives of Earth, the species the Galactic Council had dismissed, had accomplished what 47 advanced civilizations could not. They had made the Zetharian Empire bleed. Within weeks, delegates from surviving species arrived at Earth. They came seeking alliance, seeking hope, seeking the warriors who had redefined what it meant to fight for survival. Elsie stood once again at the observation deck, watching diplomatic shuttles arrive. Benjamin joined her, his arm in a sling from the battle. "They're calling us saviors," he said quietly. "We're not saviors," Elsie replied. "We're survivors. And we just taught the galaxy why you should never underestimate a species primitive enough to still believe in fighting for their home." In the end, Earth's primitiveness had been its greatest strength, while other species had forgotten the brutal lessons of conventional warfare. Humanity had remembered, and in remembering, they had saved not just themselves, but given the galaxy hope that even the mightiest empire could fall. The war was far from over, but now humanity would fight it on their terms.